Hey everybody, welcome to the EdCollab Gathering, Session 4. This is workshop number 16, Bridging School and Home with Fun and Family-Friendly Resources. I have the absolute pleasure of bringing to you Brittany Howell, the Literacy and Family Learning Specialist at the National Center for Families Learning, who uses her experience as a certified elementary classroom teacher to provide support to several current projects at NCFL. And she's going to introduce to you some of our other amazing presenters. So Brittany, over to you.
Hi everyone, thank you Lauren for that great introduction. As she said, I'm Brittany Howell with NCFL. We are thrilled to be here today and joining this great day of learning together. I have with me two of our favorite people here, of course, of many. We have Lynn, and she is an early childhood and family literacy manager at Southwest Counseling Solutions in Detroit. She's going to talk to you a little bit about her programming and how she incorporates and engages parents learning together with their children. And then I also have Holly with us, and she's a STEM coordinator in Hillsborough County Public Schools, which is the 8th largest district in the U.S. Out of Tampa, Florida. So we're thrilled to have them both with us. They bring a lot of expertise. If you're not really familiar with NCFL, our main goal is families learning together. So we have a variety of initiatives and programs and resources that you can utilize to help bridge that gap between school and home. So today we're going to focus on a couple different things and also give you a variety of different resources that you can then later go and check out, and they're all free, which is the best part. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Lynn. I'm sorry, Lynn, can I say one more quick thing before? I did put together just a little brief slide of all of our Twitter handles and the hashtag for today, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with. So there's a whole bunch there, so whoever's talking, if you want to tweet them, of course, use the hashtag as well as the EdCollab, and we would love to hear from you. So with that, Lynn, I will now hand it over to you.
Thanks, Brittany. Hi, everyone, and thank you for spending some time with us on this Saturday afternoon. I'm happy to be part of this and share some of the work that we've done with National Center for Families Learning. I have a 10-year experience with my agency in partnership with NCFL through family literacy grants and currently a Toyota Family Learning Grant and a Say and Play initiative designed to support vocabulary development for at-risk children. So the Toyota Family Learning model really takes family literacy to a higher level, supporting community engagement, empowering families, and supporting their skill development in a two-generation approach. So we come at this with a couple of different components. Parent time, a key component of the model, is a combination of lesson plans and guest speakers that are designed to help parents have the skills that they need to be their child's first and most important teacher. We talk about things like bullying or storytelling. We use technology, looking at tobacco prevention. So it's done in the native language of the parents. We work with a entirely Hispanic community in our programming, so it is linguistically appropriate for the parents. So this is the parent time session. We also look at family service learning, which is a 6-step process that helps to engage families in their communities, and you can see these steps involved in family service learning there. So as an example, families in our Say and Play program recently did an investigation of their community and determined that homelessness was an issue that was of concern to them. And so as part of their planning and preparation for this, and if we can go to the next slide, you'll see that they identified what are some things that homeless people might need, how can we support them, and they looked at making blankets and scarves to help keep the homeless warm during the winter months, addressing issues of food and hygiene. So the group, and you can advance to the next slide. You see here families working together to make recycled t-shirt bags and blankets and scarves, and then they identified, again, the hygiene products that might be helpful and filled those bags. And then from there, on the next slide, here you see our family. So this was 20 families with 62 children, and they ranged from infants up to about 14 years old. We spent 3 days at a homeless drop-in center where they delivered the scarves and blankets that they made, but they also prepared a lunch and served lunch to the folks who are at the center each day. So there's some of our families in action there. And if you look at the next slide, so following the action, it's really important that the families have an opportunity to reflect on what they've done, and we reflect with the parents as well as the children, looking at what skills parents and children may have gained through the process, what worked, what didn't work as well, and looking at how it made them feel. So you can see here some of the artwork from the children where they responded to how the experience of helping others made them feel. And what we find is that children are aware of the homelessness problem, but they learned a lot about how they could support it, and they gain a lot of empathy, the parents see, and they find that children are even more aware and looking for more ways to help. Celebration, too, is a key, looking at what have we done and how can we celebrate our work. So you see our Say and Play program had a cake there to celebrate what they did, and we brought in an Arts and Scraps program where children were able to then make some crafts and things from recyclable materials. So this is our family service learning, and the parents and families participate in 3 projects for this throughout the school year or the program duration. Another aspect or component of the program is pack time, which is the parent and child together time. And we operate this in my 2 current programs in 2 different ways. In our school-based program, this happens in the children's classroom. So parents spend 30 minutes a day observing in their child's classroom, supporting the teacher with any group work that might need to be done. And it's an opportunity for the children to have their parents there as a role model, and for the parents, they're able to see how their child best engages with the materials, how do they interact with their teacher, peers, learn more about the educational system, and of course the idea is that the parents are then better able to go home and support the children's work with homework and school preparedness and academic success. On the other side, we have a center-based pack time where families come together and do activities such as we've had family skit night where we've grouped families together and they have a chance to, using different prompts as well as props, come up with a skit that they practice and perform for the group, or family game night, or I Spy, cooking activities. So helping parents to see some of those fun activities that they can do with their children that create great learning experiences for them. So this is just a little bit about the components of the family service learning model. And I think, Lauren, are you going to share some, or Holly, you're going to share some information about Wonderopolis.
Thanks, Lynn. Yes, my name is Holly Gerlach, and once again, so excited to present this afternoon on Saturday, Learning with Everyone. So what we're going to talk about now is basically looking at Wonderopolis and some of the different things that you can do to engage families in this whole sense of wonder and inquiry-based learning. So one of the things that I always have conversations with educators about is that notion of parents are wonderful individuals and they do such great things, but they don't know what they don't know. So one of the things is in my job facet as a STEM coordinator, it's part of my job is to help educate our parents. So we actually started an initiative. It's actually called STEM in Starbucks because, hey, who doesn't love Starbucks? But regardless of the name, this was something that we did because we do have a STEM program specifically at my K-8 school. So our whole notion is how do we help the parents understand this new model of learning? Because it is something that's different. Because, you know, when we were in school and when our families were in school, it was very much that traditional education model where the teacher is truly that sage on the stage. I'm going to stand up there. I am the giver and I am the keeper of knowledge. So without me, there's no way to learn. Well, insert technology in 21st century learning, we know all that has changed. So really and truly, what our ultimate goal is to kind of educate the parents on how to foster that sense of curiosity and wonder. So with STEM in Starbucks, what it is we have a monthly edition, if you will, of STEM and Starbucks, and we will bring the families in. We have actual Starbucks coffee. We've paired up with our local Starbucks, and they donate, which is fantastic. And we will have literally a model classroom. So we'll actually have the parents engage in different types of inquiry-based learning activities. And the pictures that are presented on the slide was actually called the Tower of Dining, in case you're wondering what they were doing. But the parents literally got a package of plastic utensils, and they were responsible for creating a freestanding tower using only those plastic utensils. So it really engaged them in trying a somewhat difficult task. If you've never tried it, I encourage you to. And it's really about those 4 C's, that collaboration, the communication, the critical thinking, and the creativity behind that, because those are really those things that we try to foster in our students. Because as we know, we're preparing kids for the future, not just for that next grade level. So we need to give them something that's really going to help them, and really that comes back to that skill set as well. So the next part of it is I wanted to kind of, on the next slide, we're going to talk about really looking at open communication. How do we really work with our families so that they do understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish with the students, and how can they, more importantly, how can they help their children and those families. So on the next slide, you'll see a picture of, the first part is obviously most educational institutions, they're going to have various types of, open houses and things like that. And something that we always do is we try to make sure that anytime that we do have parents coming into the building, that we really try to make it as best as possible for all of our families. So how can we put it in conjunction with something else? So whether it's a spaghetti dinner, or whether the kids are performing, or whether they have the opportunity to go to the media center and work on something together. So we really try to give them that, the opportunity to see what it is that we're doing, and to give them some, some very tangible feedback about what they can do to be successful with their students, and how they can continue to support that learning process at home. Also giving them other practical advices. That middle picture is actually a picture of our community garden that we actually started at our school site. So it's open not only to our students, of course, and teachers, but also to our parents as well. And a lot of the times, rather than just sitting inside or watching TV, we try to really encourage our families just to get outside, to look around, to wonder, to ask questions. So we'll often encourage them going on nature walks, doing different things like that. So really trying to give them practical ways, because like I said, our families are great peoples, but sometimes they don't know what they don't know. So sometimes they need that, hey, have you thought about it this way kind of suggestion. The other thing that we've also had a real big push in the past couple years, I'm sure you've noticed, is social media, and that actually is a fantastic way to engage families into what's going on into your school building. Something that I've noticed, and we've gotten really powerful feedback, is from our families, that a lot of our families do work, and they might not have that time availability to be in our school building during the day. However, by using social media, and there's an example specifically of Twitter, because who doesn't love Twitter? So very simple, very easy, but we'll take a picture of something that's going on throughout the duration of the day, something that the kids did, and then we'll tweet it out to our families so they can see. And what that's done is really kind of created a new sense of community, and kind of that ownership of, I know what's going on. So rather than the traditional, your child comes home that day, and then your child that says, when you ask them, what'd you do today? They're like, oh, no. You have a very practical question to ask them, opposed to what did you do today? You can say, oh, I saw on Twitter that you were building, you had an engineering challenge. Tell me about that. And then naturally that's going to spark some really great conversation and meaningful discourse with the students. So really, like I said, it gives them that opportunity to feel like they're still actively involved with their child's education and what's happening during the school day, but also that can also be a continuation of the things that you can do at home as well. So the next part of it, going to the next slide, just once again talking about various types of supports and the things that we can do. So as Wonderopolis lead ambassador, I've had the wonderful opportunity to really explore the site and figure out how can we use Wonderopolis specifically, since it's such a wonderful free learning platform, how can we use it with our families? So like I said, part of that inquiry process is asking questions. If you've ever been around children long enough, we all know they love to ask questions, and more often than not, they have fantastic questions. So what can we do with their questions, and how can we continue to foster that sense of wonder, but also going through the process of not simply just asking the questions, but how do we as independent thinkers and learners gain that information? So there's actually two different initiatives we've started at my school site, and it's bridging out to other places. With Wonderopolis is the first one would be Wonder Wednesday, and it's really about all of our grade levels and our teachers and our students focusing on the wonder of the day, because Wonderopolis does feature a daily wonder, and they do change. And like I said, it's not just the question. It also provides amazing tech support, so you can actually print it off, or if your kids do have devices, which we have been encouraging our youngest learners, they've started to get some devices in their hand, and that's part of what you're seeing on the picture there. But with that, basically taking the question, then also being able to read through information to find out the answers to the wonder, but then more often than not, that's going to inspire new questions, and that's going to continue that process. So like I said, Wonder Wednesday, we actually will feature that. We'll talk about that, and that also gives us common language across the board about, oh, did you check out the wonder of the day? What did you think? What was your answers? What did you find out? And then it just once again allows that kind of sense of camaraderie within your academic institution. The other thing that we've also started as an initiative is what we call our Featured Friday. And like I said, one of our big pushes, and I think this is a trend in education lately, is we know that we're preparing kids for the future. And more importantly, we are virtually preparing kids for jobs that we don't even know what they're going to be. Our job demand market is changing constantly, and we sometimes can't even keep up, especially with all of the new advancements in technology. So one of the things is we have a tagline at my school site, and we always say, you can't be what you can't see. So as educators, it's our job to help inspire our kids with those different opportunities and to expose them to various things. So we have that conversation with our families as well about, yes, you might think that they're going to be a doctor, but what if they wanted to be, something else? How do we, have that as an ongoing conversation of what else can you do, or what do you want to be? And one of our newest taglines, what I heard, which I thought was fantastic. We always ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And like I said, as young learners, they might not know yet, and that's okay. So one of those things is really trying to push that whole notion of what's available, what are the things that you're passionate about, what are you curious, what do you want to wonder, and by using Wonderopolis, we've actually been able to highlight some really great careers. Marine biologist, there was paleontologist, there's all different kinds of things, what is one of my kids actually found a wonder about different types of art. So there's so many different opportunities for kids to be involved into different facets of careers. So that's something that we started to do on Fridays, to have conversations about what are you interested in, and really trying to get the kids invested in not just, okay, you're in school now, but looking down the road to what could you potentially be, what are you interested in, what are you passionate about. So it's really allowed for some really meaningful conversations about not only the work that we're doing currently with our students and having those conversations with families, but also trying to prepare them for their future. So we've been doing a lot of stuff with that, and like I said, those are just two simple things that we've started with Wonderopolis, but extremely powerful things. Which is going to kind of segue to the next piece, I believe, that we're going to actually look at Wonderground, which is one of the newest initiatives that was just recently launched by Wonderopolis. So Wonderground is a wonderful resource that basically is allowing different educators and families and different things like that connect. There's so many different amazing resources. Different things are being uploaded constantly, and just giving you some new innovative ideas on what you can do with Wonderopolis and the different things that the education community has been doing. So it's just a really great way to connect people and to give you, once again, some more ideas of what you can do. So I think we're going to turn it back over to Lynn, who's going to share another great resource.
Okay, and the next wonderful resource that NCFL offers is the Family Time Machine website, and this is something that we've made use of with our families quite a lot. It contains a huge variety of different activities, whether it's things that you do at bedtime or bath time or activities for driving in the car. It offers a variety of different suggestions that parents can use with their children. It's free to register, and when parents do register, they can actually add new activities, so there may be something that they've tried at home with their children that was a hit that they can add, or provide some feedback about an activity they tried, maybe some tweaks about something that worked really well for them, as well as adding pictures so that they can share what they're doing with their families. And the activities, some of them are available in Spanish, which is nice, but for those that aren't, and again, we work in a largely Spanish-speaking community, we actually use some of the suggested activities as English lessons. So we will talk in the adult ed classes with the parents about the activity and look at the language behind it, and then support it with other activities. So as an example, there's a great one about We Are a Restaurant, where families can sit down together and talk about, hey, if we were going to open a restaurant, what would we call it? What kind of food would we serve? And they can actually create some menus and pictures and things to go along with it, practice role playing and taking orders and serving the food. So it really extends into a lot of different activities that parents can do at home. So it's been a wonderful one to share with families. And again, it's all free.
It is. Thank you, Lynn. The Family Time Machine is great to keep families learning together all the time. She talked a little bit about the different categories. I mean, there's everything from bath time to bedtime to riding in the car. There's all sorts of different things that you can explore on there. And I know with this time of year, and a lot of people are on spring break and things like that, a lot of people are really starting to think about that summer slide and how are we going to keep kids learning over the summertime. So whether you're an educator in a classroom and you're a teacher and you're thinking about what am I going to tell my families about so that they can keep learning over the summer, or maybe you're like Lynn and you're at a program and you're going, you have kids year round, but you're really starting to think about how can we keep those kids learning throughout the summer. There's a lot of great activities and ideas on Wonderopolis and the Family Time Machine, and again, they're all free. Lynn, would you mind to tell us just a little bit about how your family service learning activities and the pack time in the classroom also help to reach those standards, and then also the employability skills for the parents and students as well?
Sure. We're looking carefully at the sorts of skills that we're developing, both in the adults and children. And as an example, in the family service learning, when parents and children are planning a project together, they are taking over that entire process. It's completely family driven. So whether it's using Publisher to design a flyer and then using office equipment to make those copies, or networking with other people, we're really serving to connect the families to the community and give them the skills that they need for academic success, for success in the workplace, for advocating for their families within the community.
Great, thank you. And I know you're working really hard to communicate with teachers and educators also to find out what the students are learning in their classroom, so that then that can be used within the family service learning, because the whole idea is to show that it's the real world experience and authenticity and just learning together on the go.
Right, and that partnership with the school teachers in our school-based programs is key, because we're instructing the parents in their English based on what that children's curriculum is, and those things are also guiding things like their service projects, like the activities that we're suggesting at home as extensions from school.
Great. They have so much choice and ownership that it's just really amazing to see these projects at work. There's a lot of great things going on, and like she said, some of her families and others are around the country are uploading activities to Family Time Machine, and you can do so as well. So I also wanted to take a second to show you a few other resources that you could use. So I'm going to share my screen again. Sorry, I'm trying to go to the next slide, but I am instead launching Family Time Machine. There we go. Okay, so at familieslearning.org, you can go at the top. That's our NCFL website, so there's a variety of different resources on there and information, but I'm going to focus on our solutions today. And so I have on my screen just a few that you might want to check out. And if you actually go to the site, you can see some of these free resources. So the Parent Guide to Reading and Standards is a great site to check out. It is one of our newest launch sites, and it has a breakdown of the Common Core state standards as well as any state standards. So if your state doesn't use the Common Core, those are on there as well. And it breaks down the standards for the parents, and it talks about what they mean in parent-friendly terms, standards K-12, English, language arts, math, and also science will be coming. So that's another great resource, and as it describes the standard, it also gives activities that you can do at home with your children. So it's a great way to keep them learning over the summertime or over breaks, or maybe if they're struggling with a certain standard and you want to point that out and give some additional help and support to your child, that's a great place to look as well. We also have Cultivating Readers, which is a kind of a bundle of different things that provide different suggestions and additional activities to parents to help foster reading in their children, and it's all the way from birth to grade 8, so there's a variety of different things there. We also have Family Trails, which is really big on Instagram and Twitter, but it's also a website. And it is really all about learning on the go. So we have a variety of leads that then post blog posts about what they're doing with their family, and it's learning all through adventure. So whether they're hiking, as Holly mentioned, going on a nature walk together, that's all a great learning experience, and pointing that out and talking as a family and just learning on the go. Just a couple others that you might want to check out. There's Healthy Family Habits, and those are actually materials for school events that you might host to engage families. There's also Day at Dollar General for financial literacy topics. Older students might enjoy our game Renegade Buggies, which is also financial literacy. So there's just a variety of different things that I really encourage you to go to familieslearning.org and check out just a variety of free resources. So I think Lauren might have a few things, tweets that she's been seeing, or questions. So thank you. It looks like Carolyn says, how can we keep family service learning in schools? So that's a great question. So while Lynn is talking about, and I'll give her a chance to answer this as well because she's the expert, but while Lynn is talking about family service learning from a programming standpoint, you can also incorporate it within your schools. I know here in Louisville, the mayor does a give-a-day, service give-a-day, and it's actually a week long. So schools all across the city, then they plan some type of service learning activity to do together, whether it be picking up trash to make their playground nicer, or making sack lunches and then dropping it off at homeless shelter. There's just a variety of different ways, and so then you as the classroom teacher or as a whole school can then go through each of those steps that Lynn showed and go through that whole planning process and then make it part of your school culture. Mm-hmm. Lynn, do you want to add on to that?
Well, I think your point about the school culture is key, because sustainability is an important aspect of this, and the sustainability really comes from changing that culture in a school, in the community, whereby the families don't necessarily need the program support going forward to be able to implement their service projects, but rather they're able to initiate them, and they've gained skills that they need to be able to implement and carry them out on their own. So it's creating that culture where people are looking for change in their communities, and they have the skills to be able to make that happen.
Great, thank you. I think that creating the school culture and learning environment is key in all that we do, and really making parents feel comfortable and helping their children. I know Holly mentioned as well several ideas for really inviting parents into the school. Modeling for them is so important. So maybe the first project that you do is a little more guided, but then letting the students or the families really have a say in the project that they want to do, and just making it just a part of your school culture. So thank you.
I was going to say, to add on to that, that's
Absolutely.
another really important part of our STEM framework for teaching and learning as well. You know, as we are working with students and we're giving them all of this great content knowledge and they're learning all of this new things, that's fantastic. In addition to all of these new skills, because a lot of the things that we teach them are skill-based as well. So with this new knowledge and these new skills, we really want to empower our students to say, okay, with all of this new knowledge and skills you have, what are you going to do with it? Because then that really is going to set purpose and context for, you know, for a lack of a better phrase, you can change the world with these things. So what are you going to do now? And at our school site, starting all the way with our youngest learners in pre-K, you know, going all through 8th grade, and so forth and so on, we really encourage them of taking action. So it might not be this grandiose service project necessarily, but I think that's the beauty of taking action. It might not necessarily be, you know, something that is, you know, service-based. However, it could be, but also allowing them to know with this new knowledge and with these new skills and things like that, you can simply share and bring awareness. There's so much you can do with it. So it's really trying to empower our students to have them understand that when they are receiving an education, they're extremely fortunate. So now it's a matter of how can we continue to use what we know now to give back.
Absolutely. Very well said. Thank you for adding that. Another question that I see here pop up, how can families use Wonderopolis at home? That's a great question. Wonderopolis was actually originally started as a website for parents to engage and help their kids. They were looking for a fun way to learn, and so we developed Wonderopolis. So that's really, as I said, NCFL's main mission is families learning together, and then educators got a hold of it, and it's really taken off in the educational field as well, which we're thrilled about. So I think it's a great discussion starter, like Holly said, when kids go home and they start, you know, you start to ask them, well, what'd you do today? And then they're like, well, I don't know. It's just a great discussion point to look up that wonder of the day and talk about, maybe read it together. And for younger readers, they will even read it aloud. Talk about what they learned in it, even continue your own research by going to your library or continuing to research online. And it's, again, all about that culture of wonder and inquiry, and that they're always continuing to learn. So then you're modeling that for them, and it then leads into when you're outside and they see something that interests them, and then they want to go back inside and they want to research it even more. It's just becoming that learning is all around us all the time, and it's always on the go. Holly, do you want to add any ways that your school specifically engages parents through Wonderopolis? I know you talked briefly about some.
Yes, we, like I said, anytime that we invite parents into the building, we really try to give them the most bang for their buck, just because we know it's a lot to come to, you know, the school building, whether it's after hours, so forth or so on. So something else that we have done at my school sites, we used to host what would be called a night of inquiry. So once again, really trying to give that opportunity, if that, you know, they couldn't come to a STEM in Starbucks, how do we bring the kids and our families together so we can go through this process and give them an opportunity? So we would actually invite them in for night of inquiry, and we would have different inquiry stations set up, one of which we would use Wonderopolis. So really talking about what is that inquiry process. You know, it all starts with a wonder and a curiosity. There's a question, and then going through of how do we acquire the information, you know, through the inquiry process. And then most of the times there's always going to be other things that are naturally that come out of the conversation. I can give you a perfect example. I was working with a group of students actually last week with the wonder of the day, and it was about killer whales, and it was actually talking about why are they called killer whales. And through that, Wonderopolis actually has a fantastic additional resources section with it embedded into the site. So one of the resources that they suggested was actually, it's a Explore organization, and it literally has all of these live webcams about different animals. So really and truly, we sent that out to our parents and we said, hey, you know, we were exploring different animals and our kids got really excited. You know, tonight, go ahead and go home and watch one of the cams with your children and see what you see. So they ended up creating almost like an observation log, which was really fantastic. So like I said, I really feel like the possibilities are endless with it. And there's so much you can do with it, but it's a matter of simply just logging onto the site, and it really kind of takes you from there because it's got the question and it's got answers and it's got additional resources. So it's just the matter of just having that simple, you know, let's sit down and look at Wonderopolis today.
Great, thank you. And I know we've touched on this a little bit, but what do you model for parents is another question that I see here popping up from Carolyn. So when you invite parents into your classroom, Holly, what is it that you're modeling for them?
Once again, it goes back to that inquiry process because, like I said, I feel like when we were in school, everything was given to us, and it was really about, you know, I'm going to give you the knowledge. We never allow kids to simply explore. So it's really kind of, in some ways, untraining our parents in some ways. So it's about giving them a task and letting go. More often than not, I think it's just a natural instinct, even as parents and as educators, we want to always be the first one to jump in and give the kids the answers or give them, you know, whatever they feel like. But it's so important to allow students to engage in kind of almost that productive struggle, as we call it. You know, how do we think through this process? How do we actually go through the notion of inquiry? So, like I said, specifically the modeling of it would be we would present the task, whatever it may be, and I'll kind of default back to the one that I mentioned in our STEM and Starbus example. We were trying to take our parents through the design process, which we use in our science standards. So basically identifying a specific problem and then having them go through that process of, okay, well, we need to create a blueprint for this. Then we actually need to build given the constraints of what we've been given. You know, how do we tinker to create something? How do we work together to make this happen? And in some ways, there's going to be that, like I said, productive struggle. But rather than jumping in and automatically us doing it for them, let them fail. And we have a motto at my school, and this has been something that we've really, really kind of sent home to the parents as well, is fail is a good thing. And fail we've redefined as the first attempt in learning. So we really want the kids to have that notion of, if I don't know what to do, that's okay. Let me work or collaborate with someone else to see what I can do. And we also have the notion of questioning is a huge part of how you can support the students. Because more often than not, they'll say, what's the answer? And typically we'll give it, or we'll tell them, you know, oh, it's right there. Oh, look here. Whereas my favorite thing that I tell all my families that I work with, whenever a child asks you for an answer, simply your basic default answer is, well, what do you think? And then naturally the kids are going to start talking to you. Or say, well, what makes you think that? So it's really about using that whole notion of modeling just the process of learning together, and rather than enabling the kids, really working alongside them to be learners together in that process.
Great, thank you so much. I love that acronym for FAIL. That is awesome. And I think modeling, no matter what you're modeling for parents, is so important. Just the same that we do with students, that we are showing them and setting an example for what it is we want them to do. Like Holly said, most of the time, everybody wants to be able to help their child and to do better, but they might not necessarily know how. And so it's finding a way to reach them and connect with them in order to model for them. And so that was kind of an example from an educational setting, inviting them in and modeling for them the inquiry process, or modeling for them reading aloud with their child, or even someone asked about how to use Wonderopolis at home, inviting parents in and modeling for them, walking them through the site, modeling for them how they might use it for their child is another great idea. But I know that in Lynn's program, she gave a brief overview of different things that they do, but they have parent time where parents come and they learn about different skills for themselves, and they have pack time, parent and child together time, where they're practicing those things, or they're learning together in a variety of different ways. But all of those things are also modeled for parents through their parent facilitator and things like that. Lynn, do you want to talk a little bit about how you use modeling in your program as well?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we have a parent facilitator. So as an example, on our Friday evening pack times when the families are coming together and we're providing activities, our parent facilitator and other staff are able to sort of insert themselves into the different family groups, be able to observe, but ask questions of the children and of the family so that you're supporting the parent interactions, make comments that extend their conversation and take them to a higher level. So we're able to do that in that way, but I think also Holly talked about the process, and I look at the family service learning projects, and the idea that we're following that 6-step process is really all about modeling and helping the families to understand that you can't just jump right in to an action stage, and we're helping them learn those skills of being organized. And again, everything doesn't work out the way you plan, and there is that failure that we talk about in reflection, but it helps parents to see how their children need to follow these same steps, and in the way that we interact with them, let them own the project and help them to problem solve, but let it go where it may, and then talk through maybe what could have turned out differently. That's how we want to interact with our children as well, that we want to give them ownership of their work and play, and that we're there to support them, but that it's a process, and that sometimes it succeeds and sometimes it fails, and that's okay.
Absolutely, and I think that holds true with learning in general, no matter what you're doing, talking about that process, what went well, what didn't go well, and just, again, it's all about creating that culture in the schools. So I just want to say thank you so much to Holly and to Lynn. They did an outstanding job talking about engaging parents through fun and family-friendly resources. Again, I really encourage you to check out Wonderopolis, the Family Time Machine, as well as the additional ones mentioned, familieslearning.org. If you forget that, just search for National Center for Families Learning in Google, and we will pop up. Click on our solutions. They're all free. They're all great for engaging families and learning together on the go. So we've really enjoyed our time today. So thank you, Lauren, so much also.
Thank you. I personally enjoyed hearing about all these wonderful resources as both an educator and a parent. So thank you to all of you. If you're just joining us, or if you missed any portion of this session, all sessions will be archived on the EdCollab Gathering site. And please do stay with us for our closing. You'll hear from both Kate Roberts and Maggie Baby Roberts. And they're going to be talking about the right tool for the job, practical planning to bring big ideas to life. So stick around and we'll see you there.